So today I didn't actually get a Chinese dish. There's lots of other kinds of food here too. Um, so today I actually got some Japanese food. It's it's probably not particularly authentic to Japan. It's definitely a Chinese variation on Japanese food, but it's reasonable, similar. It's so what I got is like some curry. Um, it's quite similar to Japanese curry, it's supposed to be Japanese curry. I find that this restaurant is a bit of a blend between Japanese curry and Chinese curry. Um, these are most people in the West, when they think of curry, you think of things like India and Thailand and Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and Southern Asia. Um, but Eastern Asia has curry as well. It's not exactly the same. It's much more like a hearty stew sort of thing, as opposed to the flavors are much more kind of like similar to a pot roast, except it's very similar to if you put like some curry powder into a pot roast in the West. So it's much more of like a stew kind of thing. So what I got is actually a dish in Japan is called omurice. So it's like an omelet on some rice with curry, and I got it with some fried meat, some like chicken tender kind of things, fried chicken tenders, and a pork cutlet, a fried pork cutlet, and it doesn't really taste like if you're used to Indian style curries or Thai style curries, it doesn't really taste like that. Um, in China, they call curry any kind of curry. They call it gali, um, and so this is just called gali fan. Fan means rice. Well, actually, I think they do mention the egg, so it might be called. I said in a different video, jidan. Jidan is egg, so I think it might be called gali jidan fan. Um, but it's kind of a hearty brown. This is where it varies from sort of most Western ideas of a curry. It's a brown curry. Japanese curry tends to be a brown curry. It's usually much more savory and less spiced. It does have spice flavors in it. Not spicy, but like spice. It does it does have flavors like that in it, but it's much less so than say a Southeast Asian curry or something like that. Um, it tends to be more like a stewed vegetables and meat. This is just stewed vegetables, and then they put fried some deep fried meat with it. But it's the Western dish it reminds me the most of is a pot roast. The seasoning is it's like a pot roast with slightly different seasoning. But it's both Chinese curry. Chinese curry is more yellow, and Japanese curry is more brown. But they're more similar to each other than to say a South Asian curry. Both of them are more of like a stewed dish with some here they usually use some chopped up root vegetables. This has, you can see it's just like some carrots and potatoes, maybe some turnip. Dropped a bit on my desk, so wipe that up. So it's just like a stew broth with potatoes, carrots. I think this has some turnip in it as well. I'm going to put that on some rice. They put a Japanese style omelet. It's just it doesn't have cheese or anything. It's just a egg, basically like a scrambled egg, but just all in one sheet, not curded or whatever. So, even in small, like where I live is not the smallest part of China, but pretty much anywhere in China does have various international foods. The selection of international foods is different than, say, in America or something, or in England. It tends to not include as many Western. There are a decent selection of Western options, but it's much more East Asian, and actually Northeast Asian. There's quite a few Japanese and Korean restaurants, varying in authenticity from just some local Chinese guys doing their version of whatever they think those cuisines should be, all the way to people from those countries living here doing it exactly the way you would get it in those countries. And actually, this is Japanese, but the biggest one here is Korean. And actually, there's a fairly large native population of Korean people here that are from this area. This is the very far northern border of the area that has native Korean people living natively here. Long before Harbin was a city, there was a small village that was a Korean village. It's not right where the main city is. It's off in the countryside near here, but there was a Korean village in the same location where Harbin is now. So there's quite a few Korean Chinese. Their nationality is Chinese, but like their ethnicity is Korean, who live here. In general, most of them speak Chinese. They're basically Chinese, but they might have kept some of their sort of ethnic cuisine or some cultural norms that are slightly different. Just like when people migrate to America or something. Although most of them have not migrated here. They're just from here. Or they may have come here. This city was started as a railroad town, and there was a lot of workers that came here. Mostly Russians, but there were some Chinese and Korean workers here too. So some of the Korean population may have come from that. I was talking about food. I don't know why I'm talking about Koreans now. I'm having Japanese food. This restaurant particularly is sort of, I would say, mid-tier Japanese food for here. You can go to some places that are perfectly like high-end, exactly what you would get in Japan kind of stuff, like sushi restaurants and various other restaurants, mainly sushi stuff. That's pretty popular here. Those are quite expensive. This place is just a pretty cheap takeout kind of thing. They just do this omelet on rice, basically. And then you can get like a curry. It's a curry with an omelet on rice, and you can get whatever meat kind of thing. You can get it with beef or chicken, or what I like is these, it's kind of like a pork cutlet, deep fried pork cutlet. Uh, I quite like that flavor combo with the curry. So I guess I'll say some of these words. So I said the curry is called gali, and the rice is called fan. So you can call it gali fan. Um, the Actually, let me see what on the menu they called this jikwar gali danbao fan. Jikwar gali danbao fan. So jikwar is chicken. So and kwar is piece. So jikwar is these pieces of chicken. And then gali is curry. Danbao. So bao means a package or a bag. And danbao can have several different meanings. There's a local breakfast dish that's called danbao. That's kind of like a egg cooked with a piece of bread, all like deep fried together into a little cake. But you can also use the word danbao to mean an omelette. And in this case, that's what it means. It means an omelette. So jikwar, gali, jikwar, chicken pieces, gali, curry, danbao, omelette, and then fan. Fan means rice. So that's the official name of this. It doesn't really have a name per se. That's the description that is on the menu, or that was on the receipt when I ordered it. And then I also ordered it with a little extra, these extra pork pieces, pork cutlet, which in Chinese is ju pai. Ju means pig, and pai means a flat thing. So a cutlet is a ju pai. It could be several other things. It can also mean ribs. So ju pai could also mean the same word. Could also mean the ribs of a pig. If you say new pie, that can either be new means cow, and so new pie can either be beef ribs or a steak, because if they kind of, the words don't really work quite as well for the specific Western food, so they tend to use the same word for several different things. So like this is called ju pai, but then also if you had ribs, they usually will say pai gu. Pai gu, gu means bone, so flat bone. So pai gu is actual the word for ribs, but they often shorten it to pai, and it's the same pai as this dish. So as this kind of cutlet. So that can be a little confusing. And then having it with a good, let's see if I can read this backwards. This says ke, ko, ke, la. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. So having a delicious Coca-Cola. That's a loan word from English. They changed the order. Instead of Coke, it's co, but basically the same word. I like the carbonation, goes well with it. This is a really greasy, kind of hearty, stewed dish, and I like the carbonation and of the soda with it. Kind of cuts through the fats. This is one of my go-to, it's a cold winter night dishes. And tonight is a cold winter night. It's not as cold as it can get here, but I think it's close to negative 20 Celsius, which I think in Fahrenheit is slightly below zero, maybe 3-4 degrees below zero. Um, so it's oh, my computer screen went off. So it's I'm using my computer screen as lighting. It's pretty cold out there. I walked home from class today, and it was frigid. It just snowed today too, so it's definitely a classic winter night. And this is a really good dish for warm. It's like a stew basically. Warms you up, makes you feel good. So I'm having this dish, and then that's my main dish. Oops. And then I also from this restaurant like to get this is this is just a Japanese convenience store food. Um, they sell them in convenience stores in Japan, and this restaurant happens to sell these too. In Chinese, this is called fantuer. So fan again means rice, and tuer, which it can also be pronounced tuan, depending on what part of China. In the south, they would say tuan, but in the north, we say tuer. Fantuer is tuer means like a circle of things all put together. So fantuer is just a rice. This is seaweed wrapped around rice, right? A rice cake kind of thing, or hot rice all stuck together. The Japanese name for it is slipping my mind right now, but it's a very common Japanese snack food. I wanted to show this though because it's a very interesting wrapping process. So this is clearly Japanese invention because it's ingenious. So it has this little red tab that you pull, and it pulls through the plastic. You pull it all the way around to this side, and that loosens the plastic on both sides. And then you can just pull the wrapping plastic off. Oh, I'm messing it up a little bit. Sometimes it sticks a little. It's not always perfect. But you just pull off the wrapper, and then you're left with rice wrapped in seaweed. This one, I got one that they usually have some little filling in it. It's not a lot. Try to open the bite up so you can kind of see. But you can see it has a little filling in it. This one that I got is teriyaki chicken. I actually got two of them, so I can show you the. This let's see. It doesn't want to focus on that. Well, this says zhao shao. Zhao shao means teriyaki. Shao is a type of cooking, usually involving fire, some kind of like a heated up really hot, really quickly kind of cooking. Then zhao, usually zhao means take a picture, or a picture, but in this case it's used like differently. So I'm not. I think it might be just a translation from Japanese, but the Chinese is zhao shao, and that means teriyaki. Oh, and again, this one says G pie. This is the same pie that this pork is. this is ju pie, and this is has little bits of chicken cutlet in it, so it's ji pie. Um, so it's kind of this is my little taste of Japan in Northeast China. Um, it's not the most authentic Japanese food, but it's. I mean, I don't really. I've only been in Japan one time, so I don't really know what the most authentic Japanese food is. But this is pretty good. It's very good for a cold winter evening. I think I've exhausted the things I can say about it, so I'm gonna finish up eating and cut this video off.